This week on The Grit Crusade.
So internal awareness is like how you think about yourself, or like, and then
being aware of your thoughts
and
emotions,
and like the story you're telling yourself about your life, right? And then external awareness is how other people see you.
Correct.
Hey, Grit Crusaders. Welcome to the Grit Crusade. I am your host here today, or maybe I should say co-host of the Grit Crusade today, Brooke Black, and I'm here with my husband, Justin Bates. Yay!
Yay.
You didn't sound as enthusiastic as I
was
did.
letting you do your spill.
Oh, and then you yay me?
Yeah. Hype man.
Hype man. That's how it goes. All right, so for you guys who have listened before, and we'll be sure and link it in the show notes, I've had Justin on before where he told his story, his journey from working in corporate into small business. And so it's a really interesting story. But today we're here to dive in the topic of self-awareness.
We are, and I'm glad that I'm not sick like I was last time.
Oh, were you sick last time we recorded?
Yes,
I
very.
guess I remember. Yeah, what were you sick from?
Something bronchial, I don't know.
Yeah, like it's cold and flu season when this launches.
Yep.
And even when we're recording, I think it's cold and flu season too. So, all right, so I'll tell you how this topic came about. So we went to a local restaurant here in Benton, Arkansas, called Rober, and it is an amazing culinary, cocktails, just amazing restaurant owned by Heather Baber Rowe and her husband. And Justin got a how many finger pour? What is it? Or
3
ounce?
ounce.
3 ounce pour of whiskey. It's like Woodford, probably, right?
Yes, that was Woodford.
Yeah. And he didn't realize how big that was going to be, and he started talking. That's how it started, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even remember what got us on the subject. There was a lot of subjects covered in that night.
Yeah, I actually started taking notes like on my notes app on my phone.
Yeah, I kind of went on a soapbox and just started.
And I'm like, I'm writing this down, and you're like, wait, are you really writing this down? I'm like, yes, this will be great podcast content for us later.
Yeah, it's the thing about people that are kind of quiet. They have lots of internal thoughts, so that stuff adds up over time.
Yeah. So are you an introvert?
Yes, I'm an introvert.
An introvert, but you're in leadership. How's that work out?
You have to be, again, personally aware of that.
Yeah.
And you have to segue and know when to put the energy into extroverted personality traits. And it is exhausting for an introvert. If you are one, you understand. But it's crucial to not only your development, but everyone around you.
So for my personal awareness or self-awareness, what's it like to live with an extrovert like me?
I don't know.
I feel like you're carefully selecting this answer. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. His facial expressions. If you're not watching on YouTube, OMG, his face.
It's interesting to say the least. It is kind of hard to switch my brain over to, hey, let's engage in the moment or in the middle of the day whenever I'm working, when I'm really honed in on something and trying to not make you feel like you're a burden or anything like that, when that's not the case.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
that
me
happens.
switching.
It does happen. And I feel like being married to someone that's an introvert, I have to like know that, like, not to take it personally.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, he doesn't want to talk right now. Move on with life.
But it took lots of conversations between us.
Yeah, it was a lot of communication. So I think that's definitely awareness in a relationship, like realizing, hey, like he's not into talking right now, but it really has nothing to do with me.
No, it doesn't.
You know, so, okay. So this whole conversation that started over the whiskey at Rober, you started talking about how people lack self-awareness. And I think we were talking about it in the workplace to start with. And so talk a little bit about like kind of your feelings about that.
Well, Gary Vee and a lot of other podcasters or entrepreneurs, personalities, whatever you want to consider them, say that 85% of people in the world are unaware on 2 levels. One being their internal awareness is how, you perceive your thoughts, your how you perceive yourself. And then there's the external, how people are experiencing you, how they portray you, all those things. So it's very few that have both sides of it. But once you do tap into some of that, and I'm not saying that I am.
Oh, I think it's always a work in progress.
It's always, because once you think you have it down, mentally you will cycle back into
default mode.
Yeah, a default. And typically people are stronger in one area than the other, right? And it's just one of those you have to really sit and think internally about, like, what is it that I'm doing wrong in this instance, or what? And a lot of people don't want to do that because they don't like the answers.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. So internal awareness is like how you think about yourself, or like, and then
being aware of your thoughts
and
emotions,
and like the story you're telling yourself about your life,
mm-hmm.
right? And then external awareness is how other people see you.
Correct.
And so, what do you think? I mean, you've been in leadership for several years now. What do you think people struggle with most? Like, which one?
I think externally most.
Yeah. See, I disagree.
There's
I don't know if I agree. I kind of feel like it's like.
So there's a surface level of internal self-awareness that people think that, oh, I feel this, so this is how I am. But really, when you get to the bottom of it, it gets into, if you were to really sit and think, what I've been doing this cycle and I'm working hard, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm doing the same thing over and over with the end result being the same. So what is it that is causing this? Now, if you were to go and say sit on your bed at the end of the night and think back, what is one thing or a couple things that I am fully aware of that I do that could be perceived as negative, or something that I can correct or fix? And then you have to ask yourself, am I willing to actually fix those things?
Yeah. What's that answer for you?
For me?
Yeah. Like, what at the end of the day, like, you're thinking about things that you could like internally or intentionally fix to make your life better, your work better, like whatever. Like, what would an answer be like that for you?
Procrastination on things that I do not particularly find interesting, or that I just don't enjoy doing, which everyone kind of has that in some form or another. So being aware of that, and then instead of giving my what Andy Frisella calls his inner bitch voice the tone, or even give it the time to say, hey, we can't do this right now because of XYZ, because that's all just your internal monologue that's causing you even more issue because you've given into it so many times. Instead of doing that, giving it 5 seconds and just knowing you have to do it, and then jump on it and do it, instead of giving it any kind of power over your time.
That's good. Yeah. So I don't know which one I think people struggle with more, because I think on the internal side, I think we all have limiting beliefs and stories we tell us about our life. Like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, the world's going to end. Like, I was on a call with my business coach yesterday, and I said, well, it's do or die. And she said, is it do or die, or is it do or try? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Because that's so true. Like, sometimes we put unrealistic pressure on ourselves that doesn't actually exist. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's an internal awareness flaw.
Agreed.
That can, in the long run can cause anxiety and depression and paranoia and all kinds of things.
Which are all traits of, so there are different traits of awareness, internal and external. And someone with low internal self-awareness do have those traits of stress, anxiety, depression, like different things that go all along with it.
Like catastrophizing things.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe
everything's catastrophic.
Well, the other thing Ruthie said to me is, she said, is it a problem or is it a crisis? Don't treat a problem like a crisis.
Right.
Like, you're a paid problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a employee or a mother or a grandparent, like, you solve problems every day. That's what you do. But if it's a crisis, get creative and treat it like a crisis and figure out how to solve it,
Right.
Which I thought was huge too, because that goes with that internal, conflict of the awareness you have. But then externally, we've talked about this a lot, off camera, not in front of the mic, about people in their leadership journeys, being where they are and they want to be more. They want a promotion. They want all of that. Talk to that a little bit, because you have a very interesting theory on that.
Yeah. There's a story that I heard that talked about this specifically in business and leadership, and it went something like this. I was playing basketball with some kids, and there were a couple of them I was trying to coach them through, and there was this one kid that kept asking me, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. But I didn't want to because I knew that the kid couldn't shoot for shit. And I wasn't going to, I'd rather give it to this other kid because he works at this and knows that he's going to score the point, or at least give it a good try going. So I passed it to the kid that was asking for the ball, and just like I thought was going to happen, he went in, he ended up getting packed, or the ball swatted away from him, and the other team scored. I went up to him and asked, why would you let that kid do that? Like, was there not any other opportunities? Could you not look for passing or whatever? And the kid said, I wasn't really worried about scoring or anything. I just wanted I wanted my turn. And it seems so juvenile, but this happens with adults too, a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Like, you go through work and you show up and all that is good. But when it's your turn, like, the kid didn't, just like a lot of workers, didn't put in the time, the effort to develop
his basketball
what
skills.
That next step was. So whenever it is your turn, are you really ready for it? Like, what are you going to do with it when it is your turn? Or are you just hoping that it is your turn? Like, a lot of times throughout life, not just in business, like, there are people out there that wish, especially like males, I wish that my kids would give me more of a chance like they do their mom. I wish my spouse would give me more of a chance. I wish my boss gave me more of a chance. There is no, if you're given that opportunity, and probably have been in the past, have you really stepped up to the plate and carried it like you should have? Or is there doubt because you've been presented with that opportunity and you weren't ready?
Yeah, like seize the day and you didn't.
And not to say that one chance and you're done, but if you don't learn from that, that is all in the personal awareness. It goes back, if you go back through the same cycle and don't learn from that and develop yourself, then you are in a vicious cycle that is going to always revolve over and over until you really sit down, like we were talking about earlier. What are the things that I can correct in the moment or work towards correcting?
Mm-hmm.
And know that it's not the only person that's against you, especially in today's society. That is the big thing. Like, all these entities and things are against me. They're the reason I'm not getting to where I need to be. You are the only one that can limit yourself to anything at all. And understanding that and knowing that where your weak points are, that's the only way you can move past it.
Yeah, that's good.
And then you're limitless.
And have awareness of them.
Yep.
Because none of us are like I would say, a strong, courageous on top of it all the time. It's all a journey. I always say you're either in the middle of a storm, coming out of a storm, or going into one. But my friend Danny and I, we did a mini series before these episodes will launch. Actually, they will already launch. And she talks about a theory that her husband has that you have to figure out who you are, like, before the problem strikes, like, so you can show up as that person. Like, you don't decide in the middle of something crazy, like your character or who you're going to be or how you're going to approach the situation. And I thought that was good.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Cut you off. There's a quote that's pretty profound when it comes to this in particular. It's very short, but the quote goes, "I was clever yesterday and thought I could take over the world, but I was wise today and started working on myself."
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, I remember being about 5 years in business, and you were working with us full time then, about at that point. And I remember looking at you and another one of our staff members and saying, like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know what else to do. I need more training. Like, I need more. And I think it's okay to be in a situation, like, for people listening, to realize, like, you don't know what else you need to know. But having that acknowledgement and, like, that wherewithal and awareness enough to say, like, I need to learn something else. Even if you don't know what that else is yet. Like, maybe you don't know which podcast to listen to or which training to attend or which course to take online. But just knowing that it's okay to have the door open and need to know something else. I think is big. So what do you think that you talked a little bit about like leadership and your turn and all of that, but like something that I see that really prevents people's growth is like how they're like equals, their coworkers, their colleagues view them, because so many times like people don't realize that the things that they're saying and the things that they're doing are preventing building those relationships as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I mean, I do definitely think that, something stuck in my mind in the middle of you saying that a part of self-awareness, you can, trying to say how to like really get into this, but, okay, say you have like you have a coworker, like you guys are at the same level going for the same position or multiple, right? For say that there's a position in the company that's opening up that is a step above. You and the other or two others have all the same work ethic, but you may not realize that. Like it's all even killed, right? You ultimately, because we are kind of jaded on how we view ourselves versus other people sometimes, and think that we're just like giving it our all, but don't realize that there are two other people doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then there's another step or another factor that comes into this. Say that drama tends to follow this one in particular person all the time.
Yeah.
And they always seem to think that it's just all these other people. Again, the victim mentality of like, it's all these other people. Maybe it's not. Maybe you invite those things in through conversation, maybe you're just drawn to it.
Yeah. So that victim mentality, though, I think that's huge with self-awareness, because I think that so many times, and it's easy to get stuck into it, right? I'm not pointing the finger at other people.
No, it's a national narrative that media, but it's a media thing.
Like, here's what they did to me.
Because it's way easier to blame someone else than take ownership.
So do you think like taking ownership and awareness are tied together?
Absolutely. Because who wants to like focus on their own faults outside of what like social media and different things? Like people tend to focus way too much on their appearance and all the like. There's with all the focus on how I look, my stature on social or around my friends. Some people could care less about that piece of it, but they do focus, like they're insecure about some things. So there's no space out of focusing on all that insecurity to focus on the real problem, if that makes sense.
Like when you say the real problem, are you talking about like how they're treating others or how they're perceiving like the world happening to them?
To even open their mind to think that there are other issues.
Well, I think you said something earlier. You talked about how, the only person like getting in your way is you. Mm-hmm. And so I have this belief that we are co-creators with God. Like we are co-creating our existence.
Right. Like,
yes, I do believe that God has the ability to look in the future and see everything that's going to happen. But no, I don't think he sits around all day like pre-writing our lives out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like I think the decisions, because we have free will and he gave us free will, the decisions that we make shape our journey, which is the opposite of the victim mentality. Right. Because I think once you see that you are a co-creator in this universe, in this world, you can't have a victim mentality anymore.
No, because out of all the creatures throughout time that we know about, humans were put on this earth in God's image and completely disrupted environment, everything for good and bad.
Right, yeah.
But we were not, I firmly believe that because we were put here in God's image, that we were not put on this earth to be average. And there are way too many people that are okay with existing, that ultimately there's going to be a lot of unhappiness internally, and there's a lot of things that go with it. But to circle back to that, I agree with you on, I think we were put here to not just exist, to be extraordinary people in one way or another. That doesn't mean everyone has to own a business. Everyone has to run a business. Like there can be strong entrepreneurial points and strong entrepreneur points, right? And knowing like your strength can, well, hands down, 100% always provide success in the end.
Yeah, it's
no
true.
matter what. If you're okay with just showing up.
But you have to know, like you said, what that strength is.
Right.
And which means you have to know what your not strength is or your weakness. And like be willing to look at that head on.
Yeah. Like one of my major weaknesses is communication. But the past while I've been trying to really focus on how can I in my own way without, completely being someone who I'm not, because I don't want to, obviously you don't want to lose who you are because of something else. Be able to effectively communicate with staff, with customers in all kinds of facets and still like hit the mark.
Yeah. But I think too, that you have surrounded yourself around with people that are better communicators than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have a team of women, mostly women that you work with every day. And some of them are great communicators.
Yeah, they are.
And I think that's a big thing is realizing you're not good at that, but also not taking that as like a chip on your shoulder. And because some people do that, right? Like they don't want to surround themselves around people that are better than them at anything. So like they don't look for that, but instead like look for other people to be around you in your friend circle at work, like whatever, that are better than you are.
I feel like in leadership, that's a personal insecurity.
Yeah, right.
Like there are a lot of businesses out there that, a owner may hire people intentionally that are subpar to them in different areas.
It's like to make them feel better about themselves.
Right. And there's not the best leaders in the world. Like, do you think, okay, let's take Steve Jobs. Like he started with some knowledge of something, but he knew that he would have to bring on people that are better at this, that are better at this. Like there's no one person can do all of this well.
Right.
Like you have to be, like he put all of his focus in painting vision and like doing all the things that an owner, president, anyone, manager, any of that stuff does. You have to bring in people that are stronger than you in all facets, like all areas.
Absolutely. All right, so let's take a break and do trivia in the trenches.
Okay.
So if it's your first time on the show, listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, thank you for being here. Sometimes I have a guest, sometimes it's just me, and like today I have a co-host, which is exciting. It's fun, something a little bit different. So we do a fun segment on trivia called Trivia in the Trenches, and it has nothing to do with the show, and it's just for fun. And so today, since Justin is the co-host, he is bringing the trivia to ask me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So I chose this one because it's a fun one,
Okay.
but it's a good one because it's about this change and segue from your original state, right?
Okay.
So Play-Doh. What was Play-Doh?
Like as in Play-Doh that you play with like as a kid?
Yes.
Or like Play-Doh the
No, not
philosopher?
No.
Is he a philosopher?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
No, Play-Doh that you play with.
Okay.
What was it originally created for?
Ooh, okay. I should know this. What was Play-Doh? They should have talked about this in like Toy Story or something. What was Play-Doh originally created for? Stress management? What is it?
Okay, so in the 1930s, most homes were heated by coal, fire, or like all that kind of stuff. So Play-Doh was originally had no color and was designed to take coal stains and different things off of wallpaper.
What?
That's what it was originally
No way.
made for. So,
and then the kids started playing with it.
Well,
No,
I'll get
not
to
yet.
that. So
okay.
After the 1930s, gas and different things started happening. So there was less and less of the use for it because of the coal was kind of like phasing out. Well, the owners of the company heard about this teacher that was using this in art class and how it was, like the growth and creativity and stuff in the school and the surrounding area. So
Yeah.
they then took it and started dyeing it
And remarketed it.
and now it's
The
Play-Doh
rest
as it is
history.
today.
I wonder if it smelled the same then, like the wallpaper cleaner as it does now, because Play-Doh has that like distinct kid smell. It's like the best. I don't know. I love the way Play-Doh smells. Anytime our son opens one, I'm like smelling it because I love the way it smells. That was a good one.
Mhm.
So if they would have stayed coal cleaners, they would have failed.
Right.
So sometimes you have to adapt and change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way to do that is through self-awareness for sure, right?
Yep. And if they weren't aware that everything around them was changing, but they weren't, it goes Blockbuster.
They weren't aware that everything around them was changing and they weren't. That's true though, huh? Because I think back like on my journey, because we can only speak from our own experiences, right? Or like if we hear a story someone else has shared about their experiences. And I think back, like if I was the leader now that I was then, that would not go well. It would not go well.
No.
You were there, I was a hothead, wasn't I?
Yeah. I mean,
I could spew at any moment. I think I was also overwhelmed and like very stressed.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about what people do when they realize that they don't have awareness in a certain area. How do you get awareness? Like I kind of have a theory about what I think.
How do you get awareness? Well, first is just, like I said, like understanding what it is. You can't tackle everything at once because everyone wants a quick fix. It's a long journey of I have to fully develop this or it's going to crash. It's like if you're building columns for a building and you're like, I really want to get this done fast. I'm not really going to focus on the column looks good, but it's not exactly centered.
Yeah.
Like issues are going to come over time. So if you don't fully develop that piece, then it's inevitable that it's going to default back. It's going to. So picking the major things like what is something that I can do that's going to make the most impact now. And then once you have stepped over that hurdle, it's time to reevaluate and go for the next part. Right. Another thing that I've really been working with staff on that is not easy is trying to pull out truth from staff about me or like personally. Like what are things that I or my leadership team can do? What are things that are frustrating to you? What are this? Like a lot of times they're hesitant because people think that there's going to be some kind of repercussion for them being honest. But in my leadership style, and I think everyone should be like this, you should invite criticism because ultimately perception is reality. You've said that a lot. Mm-hmm. So if it's perceived like this, but it may not necessarily be true, but it's how they view it, it's going to continue. There could be more.
Well, I think that talks to the disalignment of internal and external awareness because we've had coaches before that we've worked with that their heart's all there, right? So, but then how people see them is that they're like overbearing or controlling or too harsh on the kids or whatever. And so I always talk to people and, in coaching sessions and meeting with them of we have to align those two. So let's figure out how you mean it, how you intend it. It's not being perceived. How do we get people to see your heart too? And I think realizing that there's a disalignment there. So I kind of challenge what you say earlier just a little bit. So you're talking about you've got to figure out what the biggest impact's going to be to change first. But sometimes I feel like people can't do that alone. Like I don't feel like everyone can do that. And so sometimes I think you need a therapist or a life coach to help you because there are some blind spots you have in your life that you will never see until somebody else points them out.
Well, some people don't want to step that far yet.
I mean, I guess yet's a good word, but to me, I'm like a go big or go home person. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to know?
They want to. There's an internal fear of putting themselves out there. Like it's shameful, and it's not.
That's a lie, though. That's a limiting belief.
I agree.
That is so true. Like the limiting. The part of it was true was it's a limiting belief. Period. It's so true that we all have those about ourselves. Like if I admit that I need help, then I'm somehow less than.
Yep.
Which is asinine, because I think if you are asking for help, that's showing a greater self-awareness that you need help.
Agreed.
Right?
But there's that point before that is, okay, I now know, I say know very loosely, know that these are issues or personality flaws that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Notice I said no, but do I accept them?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I think I think it would be such a fake life you would be living if you never acknowledge those things about yourself.
Do you know how many people in our society live a fake life?
Yeah, right. I know. So true. But like, I don't know. I'm with you though. I feel like none of us were put here to be average.
Mm-mm.
I feel like our souls have one go round. We have one chance to make our dent on the world. And if we are hiding behind our own fears, then we are limiting the possibilities that we could change the world, or change your circle, or change your community, or change your church, or change your workplace, or whatever. Like, you can have such an impact by being authentic and real.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess, like, in summary, not having self-awareness totally impacts like your dent on the world.
It's a detriment to society.
It is a detriment to society. Yeah. It's harmful. It's harmful to people around you. It's harmful to, yeah. So what do you say to people that are too scared to look inward? What do you say to them?
What are you afraid of?
What they might find. That's probably the answer.
But still, what are you afraid of?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you care more about your own personal well-being or how people perceive you? Do you want to put out this persona, or do you want to be real?
Like, do you want to act like you have it all together, or do you want to actually be doing the work to like move forward to having it together?
Yeah. And you see it all the time. It's easy to, like, again, social media. I'm not a huge fan. Most people that know me know that I know it has to be done for the business, but I am not a huge fan of personal social media. A lot of times people see these success stories or these people that pop up that have this, that, and everything you could imagine, but there's no track record. If you really look back at what they have, like, where did that shit come from? And most of the time they haven't built anything. So people get it in their mind, just like in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was really, and it still is today, but it's real easy to sign on to the fitness goal of losing weight when it's just a pill and you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, right.
Like, when people think that it's like so easy to do this, I can just, I can resell for Amazon. Not saying that's easy, but in their mind, they think that I can just go and do that and it's going to be a breeze and this.
I'm
But
gonna
they
make all
don't
this
realize
money
that there's work behind that has to be developed before any of that takes place, or you're going to be inconsistent, you're going to lose your contracts, all that stuff goes into play. So I guess, I don't know, I kind of lost where I was at. ADD moment.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's life. That's awareness.
Yeah.
Realizing you had adult ADD.
Yeah.
Well, no, you were just talking about like if they, like, what are they afraid of?
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of people are afraid of hard work. Let's be real.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they are. And that anything can be perceived as weakness. And I told you this the other day. There is no one, if you really like value the opinion of anyone, like, there's one thing to have like opinions of your friends or family or whatever. But if there's in business, if there's no one who is actually doing legitimately better than you in business that is ever going to judge you negatively.
Man, that's true. Like, that's right. Like, if there's anybody upstream from you, they are never looking downstream.
They're
judging.
always trying to help or
They are
provide some
cheering
kind of
people
resource.
on.
Yes, they want that to happen because they know it's possible and they know you can do it.
But they know how hard it is.
Yeah, but there are struggles.
Right?
They're not, and no one's going to hand it to you. But a lot of anyone that you're valuing will either be at your level or around your level or below you. And they don't matter because they haven't done anything more than you have.
That's why anytime I see, like, especially a woman, starting any kind of business, I don't care if they're making cupcakes or they're selling candles or like I'm here for it. I'm there for it, to support them, to cheer them on, to invite people to their Facebook page, like to do anything, to tell other people about them, to show off something I bought from them, like whatever, because I know how hard it is out there. Like, I know how hard it is to start something from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you realize that those people, like you said, that are below you in the achievement line, right? Maybe they just
or
aren't as
at
far in
your
their
level.
Yeah, and I don't mean like below you in life, social class, anything. I'm just talking about like they haven't tried to step out and achieve something yet, right? So they're the baseline of, okay, am I going to go do something new? They are never going to be like those people are going to, do they get a voice in your life, right? It's up to you though.
Yeah.
It's up to you, like whether you let them have the stage or not. And that's hard. That's harder because I'm someone that, social media, I love keeping up with my friends and family on social media. Beyond that, I don't give a rip. However, there's a lot of drama out there,
mm-hmm.
and I have to not let those voices in on my stage. Like, they can't have a stage in my like internal monologue. And that's hard. It's harder. It's easy to say that, but it's also very hard. But I did think it was very powerful when you shared that with me. Anyone upstream from you, that they've been doing this longer than you, they've gotten further than you in business or whatever it is, or in life, in ministry, in music, in art, anything, they're never going to be the ones yelling downstream to be ugly.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I get messages weekly or calls or anything about, hey, I've been thinking about this. How did you segue into this or whatever? And I provide it all, but I let them know that, okay, I can provide all this information. I can tell you where to go to find this information. But the key factor is, are you going to work as hard as I did or am at this point?
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate factor. You get, like, with the internet and everything like it is now, with us growing up kind of in the midst of internet wasn't really a thing.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. So, like, it was like you started off like before. We're older than Google, so like things weren't as readily available.
Older than Google. Oh my gosh, I feel like that just aged me.
Things were not readily available like they are now. There's so much content out there that you can literally, it's endless.
Yeah.
But are you willing to do the work?
I mean, I think that's an awareness thing too. Like I've been thinking about starting a business. Are you willing to give up 6 years of your life? And the first 3 are going to be utter hell. Like, that's what I tell people. I don't even try to play about it.
Are you willing to go into a business understanding that the business eats first?
Oh, that's good. The business does
eat
first.
And not you.
Yeah, it does. The business does always eat first.
Like, even if you want to, and you can preach to this, say you have a business going, okay, everything's good, right? You're putting money back into the business because you should at the first stages of life. Okay, you're making a little bit of return, but not a whole lot. Then it's time for you to bring on a staff member. Then you're not getting paid anymore because you have to feed the beast to make it happen. And like, a lot of people think that just being an entrepreneur is cool, and it's not cool. It's not cool. It's, if you are at the right stage of your life and you have the right mentality, yes, it's cool. Like, because you are hungry and you're providing something for the community and like the world ultimately, like going on and providing knowledge, all that kind of stuff. But if you're not in the right place, it's going to be like everything else and just kind of crumble out from under you.
Well, I think like you talked about earlier when we were talking about like digging into your internal awareness, is it's a long game.
It is.
It's all a long game. Like, there is no pill. There is no quick fix. There is no quick sale. Like, every day showing up for yourself, showing up for the things you care about, and determining like who gets a voice in that. I think that makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got anything else to share? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I have lots of stuff, but
I feel like we kind of covered most of the topics about self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for co-hosting with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. All right, y'all stay tuned because we have another episode coming up with us co-hosting together. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to The Grit Crusade. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClintonCreative.com.